Welcome to Our Lady of Quality Content. This video is not about Romeo and Juliet. We're not even going to talk about Romeo and Juliet. My name is Eve. I tell stories and have opinions about things. And today, we're going to talk not about Romeo and Juliet, but about how you're quoting Shakespeare wrong. Today, I have done the extremely scientific research of Googling some stuff to determine roughly which Shakespeare plays are the most performed and read, and roughly which quotations from those plays are the most popular. In the end, I decided to talk about the most famous quotations from 5 plays: Julius Caesar, A Midsummer Night's Dream, Othello, Twelfth Night, and Hamlet. All of these plays are the sources of incredibly popular Shakespeare quotations, and all of them contain much better language than what's normally quoted. I am here today to talk to you about how wrong you are when you choose a Shakespeare quote off of WikiQuote, and how right you could be if you just listened to me. You're welcome. Let's get started with Julius Caesar. Friends, Romans, countrymen, lend me your ears. I come to bury Caesar, not to praise him. The evil that men do lives after them. The good is often interred with their bones. So let it be with Caesar. You've probably read Julius Caesar, at least if you were educated in the United States. We really love this play. It has a lot of rhetoric that really appeals to Americans. Julius Caesar is a play about a republic in crisis. So there's a lot that we can learn from it. At some point, someone, and it probably wasn't even John Green, quoted this line at you. "The fault, dear Brutus, is not in our stars, but in ourselves that we are underlings." The general sentiment is that it's our own choice, our own actions, and not fate that determines where we go in life, which is a pretty outdated sentiment, considering that where we go in life from a sociological standpoint is more a combination of our circumstances, our birth, the culture we live in, and opportunities that happen to fall in our paths, combined with our choice and actions. It's especially ironic that people like to quote this line, because it's an instance of dramatic irony. You see, Cassius says this at the beginning of the play, and by the end of the play, we come to realize that actually the hand of fate is what's controlling the actions of the characters. It's a strange takeaway from the play. But it gets more annoying, because the most popular quotation from Julius Caesar is from Caesar himself. Not a great source. "Cowards die many times before their deaths. The valiant never taste of death but once." Let's start with the context. Calpurnia, Caesar's wife, is telling him about an awful dream she had that she fears is a premonition, an omen from the gods that something terrible is about to happen to him. I mean, this man has already heard a soothsayer say, "Beware the Ides of March," so he's already pretty much in denial. But this is just a little far. Calpurnia is begging Caesar to stay home. On her knees, literally. Directly preceding this line, she says, "When beggars die, there are no comets seen. The heavens themselves blaze forth the death of princes," saying, "Take me seriously, you're too important to risk." To this, Caesar replies, "Well, you know, in its own way, being afraid is like a version of death, so I'm really good. I'm fine. I'm gonna go to the Senate today." And the speech continues to get dumber and dumber, because directly after that he says, "Of all the wonders that I yet have heard, it seems to me most strange that men should fear, seeing that death, a necessary end, will come when it will come." Okay, yeah, everybody dies, but not everybody dies surrounded by their friends in public with 30 knives in their back, and depending on who's interpreting the story, genitals. Did I mention that in some versions of the history, Brutus stabbed Caesar in the dick?
Why should Caesar get to stomp around like a giant while the rest of us try not to get smushed under his big...
Because the idea is that he's attacking an aspect of his nobility, his virility and ability to reproduce, thus robbing him of his ability to be patriarch of the state. So it's extremely symbolic. And also, both less and more shitty than stabbing him in the back. Both. Both is good. Anyway, Cassius has much better lines. Cassius is speaking with Brutus, convincing him to join with the conspiracy against Caesar. I cannot tell what you and other men think of this life, but for my single self, I had as lief not be, as live to be in awe of such a thing as I myself. Alright, this is a little bit of a weird line, so let's untangle this. First of all, as lief means as willingly, or I would like as much. So what he's saying here, when he says, I had as lief not be, as live to be in awe of such a thing as I myself, I would as willingly not exist, as exist to be in awe of someone made of the same stuff as me, as someone who is the same thing that I am. It's a powerful sentiment, and it's one that, as I said, we need. There's also a better Antony speech. Oh, pardon me, thou bleeding piece of earth, that I am meek and gentle with these butchers. Thou art the ruins of the noblest man that ever lived in the tide of times. Woe to the hand that shed this costly blood. Over thy wounds now do I prophesy, which like dumb mouths do ope their ruby lips to beg the voice and utterance of my tongue. A curse shall light upon the limbs of men. Domestic fury and fierce civil strife shall cumber all the parts of Italy. Blood and destruction shall be so in use, and dreadful objects so familiar, that mothers shall but smile when they behold their infants quartered with the hands of war. All pity choked with custom of fell deeds. And Caesar's spirit, ranging for revenge, with Ate by his side, come hot from hell, shall in these confines, with a monarch's voice, cry havoc, and let slip the dogs of war, that this foul deed shall smell above the earth with carrion men groaning for burial. I mean, I'm not advocating violence, but maybe we should not forgive people who, I don't know, put children in cages or whatever. It's fine. You may remember, although you probably don't, that in the Friends, Romans, Countrymen speech, Antony says, the evil that men do lives after them. The good is often interred with their bones. Well, Antony observes in this private moment that the evil that is done to men lives after them too. And those who do it would do well to remember that. Love looks not with the eyes, but with the mind, and therefore is winged Cupid painted blind. If you've seen a Shakespeare play, it was A Midsummer Night's Dream. That's the play that you saw. And if you haven't seen it, well, you've definitely quoted it. You may, for example, have sighed when your friend complained about their boyfriend not texting them back quickly enough. Well, the course of true love never did run smooth. Which, I mean, it's meaningless, but it's fine. That's the thing with a lot of Shakespeare quotations. They're nice, they sound good, but they don't mean much. The phrases that get taken out of Shakespeare plays and circulated around tend to be proverbs. I talked about this a little bit in the case of Julius Caesar, and it's no less true in A Midsummer Night's Dream. But there's only one famous quotation from A Midsummer Night's Dream that makes me want to punch people. You've seen it around on sweatshirts, tote bags, yoga water bottles, and most distressingly, prints hanging in little girls' nurseries. And though she be but little, she is fierce. The sentiment, I suppose, is charming enough, in a sort of 90s pop feminism way, the implication being that young, or I think some women mean to imply petite, women can still be powerful and formidable. That sentiment would baffle Shakespeare. In A Midsummer Night's Dream, the Fairy King, Oberon, instructs his servant Puck to use the magic juice of a flower to detangle a lover's snafu between 4 mortal Athenians who have run away into the woods for various reasons. The 4 young Athenians have run away into the forest because Hermia loves Lysander, but Hermia's dad wants Hermia to marry Demetrius, who loves Hermia, even though he used to love Helena, who loves him, who tells on Hermia and Lysander for running off into the forest to get married at Lysander's aunt's house on the other side of the forest, because she loves Demetrius and thinks that with Hermia out of the way, she can marry him and they'll all be one big happy family. Well, Oberon sees this and he's like, this seems like an unpleasant situation for all involved, and I think it would be cute if everyone paired up properly. So Puck, go put this love juice on Demetrius' eyes so he'll fall in love with Helena and everyone will be happy. But Puck sees them and he's like, well, all Athenians look the same. So he puts the love juice on Lysander's eyes. Both of them fall in love with Helena, and Hermia and Helena both think that everyone is making fun of them, which leads to a catfight. So Hermia is shorter than Helena. We have this pointed out to us repeatedly for about 2 pages. Helena shouts at Hermia, "Fie, fie, you counterfeit, you puppet, you." And Hermia responds, "Puppet? Why so?" "Aye, that way goes the game. Now I perceive that she hath made compare between our statures. She hath urged her height." So that goes on for a while. Finally it comes to a head, and Hermia and Helena begin chasing each other and attacking each other. Demetrius and Lysander both jump to Helena's aid, and Helena, who'd rather not have her face scratched off, decides to use Demetrius and Lysander's protection, whether they're making fun of her or not. "Be not afraid. She shall not harm thee, Helena," says Lysander. Demetrius, "No, sir, she shall not, though you take her part." Helena, "Oh, when she's angry, she is keen and shrewd. And she was a vixen when we went to school. And though she be but little, she is fierce." Hermia, "Little again? Nothing but low and little. Why will you suffer her to flout me thus? Let me come to her." It's just a weird choice for your baby's nursery. Instead, try quoting this. It's a little unwieldy. Okay, it's not very quotable at all, but it would make a nice print for your daughter's bedroom. When Helena and Hermia find themselves at odds, Helena rebukes Hermia with memories of their idyllic childhood together. "Is all the counsel that we two have shared, the sisters' vows, the hours that we have spent, when we have chid the hasty-footed time for parting us, oh, is all forgot? All school days' friendship, childhood innocence? We, Hermia, like 2 artificial gods, have with our needles created both one flower, both on one sampler sitting on one cushion, both warbling one song, both in one key, as if our hands, our sides, voices, and minds had been incorporate. So we grew together, like to a double cherry, seeming parted, but yet a union in partition. 2 lovely berries molded on one stem, so with 2 seeming bodies, but one heart. 2 of the first, like coats in heraldry, due but to one, and crowned with one crest. And will you rent our ancient love asunder to join with men in scorning your poor friend? It is not friendly, 'tis not maidenly. Our sex as well as I may chide you for it, though I alone do feel the injury." Okay, leave that last part off the nursery print. That's the thing about Shakespeare. A lot of his best sentiments can't be laid out briefly. I suppose that's true of a lot of the best sentiments. But they're still short enough to put on your wall.